Freneskae's loyalty has only ever been to himself. When our goals align, he can prove useful. But his recent exploits are not something I can condone. I cannot stand as both judge and executioner. I leave it to those he has wronged to bring him to any justice they feel he deserves. I did not. I'm glad. They did not exist when I left this place. But when I first encountered them, I knew instantly that we shared kindred. Their name means the children of Ma. Their crystals mark their divine origin. They were unmistakably relations. I saw them as younger siblings and sought to protect them. Divine creations are more fragile than you realize. Their race is the epitome of potential, but their fate is also sealed. Had he known what he was truly dealing with, Gielinor may never have brought them to Gielinor. He tried to rein in their nature, and it was not long before one of their number broke free. It was easy for me to convince that breakaway of my superiority. Freneskae. Not all Mahjarrat chose to leave Gielinor's service, but the few that remained did not last long. So, in a desperate final act, the desert god Gielinor devastated his own lands to discourage me. I was given pause and ended my campaign. I realized that I had become what I was fighting against. From that point on, I slowly started to remove my presence from the Empire. I provided the Mahjarrat with the means to rejuvenate themselves on Gielinor. Something of which Gielinor was incapable, for he did not understand them. And I encouraged them to be less wasteful with their rituals. If they were to become leaders in the Empire, they had to endure. They are an intriguing race, but we will need to deal with them if we are to rouse the Elder Gods. I suspect their home plane was destroyed soon after the Elder Gods first left Freneskae. A small number of dragonkin survived this revision, taking shelter in the Abyss, among the detritus of previous cycles. This is a truth best revealed slowly. You will come to it in time. I believe the surviving dragonkin sought out justice for mercy, or retribution, only to end up bound to her catalyst. For the Elder Gods to hear the pleas of mortals will require someone to bridge the gap. Only a being of divine origin, such as I, has a hope of communicating it. Next is an almost perfect creation, but even she has limitations. She is unfailingly loyal. She can be no other way. It was the act of her creation that steered me on the path towards Elder Godhood. The young gods fear her, not because of her strength, but because of how she came into being, what she represents. Not exactly. The Nihil only came into being due to Mara's own energy. The creation of life is beyond me. Because of this, to me, the Nihil were a failure. Save for one who stood apart from the pack. I gave her consciousness, and she became next. One success from so much failure. I was fascinated by the Orspire race, and by Char especially. She was reminiscent of one I used to know. I drew great comfort from her. I am very pleased to have discovered that Zamorak did not kill her. I will welcome her in my presence once more. Such a noble race. I am ashamed to say I failed her. I sought to overcome the race's infertility, but Zamorak deposed me before I could find a solution. But I am only able to alter existing forms of life. As an elder god, the solution would be trivial. Call them by their true name, Iluyanka. Their memory deserves respect. I am shocked that he has managed to survive this long, but pleasantly surprised. This is most fortuitous. Good. After all he has been through, he should have time for his own kind. Though, if he is the key to resolving the Dragonkin issue, I only hope he does not pass before he is needed. Demons were the first conscious life I encountered after leaving Freneskae. I was fascinated by their culture, language, government, and beliefs. I took the infernal tongue for my own, having had no need of speech before, and I used that language to seal them in a pact of servitude. Do not judge demonkind by those you have experienced. You will have only met the embittered Avernic slaves Zamorak led in an uprising after my banishment. My pact was with their Chthonian masters. Their forms were a seemingly random array of appendages, but they had one unifying trait: the ability to absorb knowledge from that which they ate. Ergo, within the strictures of demonic law, cannibalism was outlawed. Telling me, the punishment for many crimes was to be eaten. Thus, those in power grew ever more knowledgeable, and fast. I can sense your unease, that I would ally myself with such beings. But you should understand that they were not monsters. They were vastly intelligent, their pursuits cultural and artistic. Their value was in the militaristic Avernic forces they marshaled, and they rarely involved themselves directly in combat. Even though they were immensely difficult to kill, their numbers dwindled over the course of my empire. It is possible that some still survive to this day, buried in the deep places of the world. I once had a pet Vidius named Ocelus. He and his brother, Oriculus, stood vigil beside my throne, even when it sat empty. Virii are Chthonian pack animals, akin to Avernic hellhounds, or your dogs. I was initially less convinced by the vampires, but being only the second race I encountered, I had little to compare them to. At first, they were nothing more than predatory beasts, but I applied what I had learned from the demons and gave them a society. As with any burgeoning society, there was bloodshed and civil war, but eventually an aristocracy rose up that persists to this day.
Even vampires have the potential for good or ill, but their thirst is ever present, and often overcomes their will. I was not aware I was making a choice. These were just the first races I encountered. These races originate from the lower planes, these being the earliest creations of the Elder Gods, and which are nearest to Freneskae. I would have gladly accepted all mortal species under my banner, but by the time I had reached the higher planes, those races had adopted the doctrines of other gods. It is my belief that everything that occurs in life, both good and bad, should be used to forge oneself, to better oneself. If we give in to weakness, then we do not deserve the gift of life. Where Guthix sought balance in the world, I seek balance in oneself. One must strive to increase in power, but also in knowledge of how to wield that power. The younger gods have tended to fulfill only one of these things. You, While Guthix, fulfill both of these criteria. First, I must obtain a new body and regain my divine status. With it, I shall return to my ultimate ambition. I intend to claim my birthright and become an Elder God. Only then will I be able to stand equal to the universe's creators and speak on behalf of mortals. Once I return, I shall wait for the Elder Gods. I will speak for all mortals, and the Elder Gods will listen. They are where they have always been, since the creation of Gielinor. On Gielinor. First, I need you to make your way below Mars to the planet's core. Once there, I require you to gather some of her divine energy and use it to weave me a new body. I hope to call on you. There is much to be done if we are to succeed. I will not ask anything of you that compromises your beliefs, or conflicts with your status as World Guardian. Until then, do as you would always do. Choose your path. Follow whatever philosophy or god you desire. I do not require your fealty, though I welcome it, should you wish to give it. I only require your support when you are called upon, for the benefit of all. All else matters not in the face of the Great Revision. All in due time.